Should be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
April
6th.
6th.
Yeah.
April 6th, 2020. And Eddie and I are back again for another, conversation?
Another conversation.
That's kind of what we do. We just
Jar
have a
pick.
conversation and we sort of figure out what we're doing with ourselves and our lives as we go.
Shouldn't try to pick one.
If you haven't watched this before for some reason, I can't imagine why you would have never seen the show before.
Hands to
Basically, Eddie and I sit here, we have this jar of topics, and with each topic, we basically just have to start talking about it and see how we can relate, I don't know, our lives or something, and we have no idea what any of the topics are.
This one could either be funny or like pretty intense.
What's the topic?
Emotional stability.
Emotional stability. Okay, so what do we have? We had Cali climbing, and
Cali
today
climbing, and
emotional
today's
stability.
Emotional stability.
Should I start this one, or do you want to start this one? I feel like I have a lot to unpack with emotional stability.
Uh-oh.
Or
maybe this is good.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You tell us. Let us know in the comments. Okay, emotional stability. There's so many different ways we could go with that. I feel like there's a lot of ways that we can go with it. And
that's what I mean. It could be intense, or it could be like funny, or it could be like low key.
Yeah. Geez.
You gotta start it. You get to pick the path.
Okay. Emotional stability.
It's up to you.
Let me think about it for like 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, maybe you start it.
Okay, emotional stability. Should we talk about it in terms of like our experience with it personally?
Anything related to emotional stability.
Emotional stability. I actually have like had definitely emotional stability problems for sure the past couple of years. Like, pretty intensely actually. Like I've definitely had times where like they've been pretty out of control. I've had periods of like where I've definitely experienced like loneliness over the past couple of years, where emotional stability kind of just like crashed. And I've always been one.
Crashed as in,
well,
like your emotional stability.
I definitely like, I'm a pretty reserved person, not with you or Callie, just because I'm like, you guys are like my family. Like I don't have walls up against you guys, but to most people, even people who like believe they know me really well, I'm really good at being the guy that I might be depressed, but I got a smile on my face, right? Like I can do that pretty easily. So I've never been, I shouldn't say never, I very, very seldom have lost control of my emotional stability visually, or like you can't tell. But I definitely have struggled with it in terms of like not knowing how I'm gonna feel when I wake up in the morning, or just like my moods swing throughout the day because of like going through a tough time or blah blah blah. Like, and I definitely like just me personally, just like how my mind works, my mood swings can be crazy. Like I can be feeling on top of the world in the morning, and then in the afternoon I just feel like absolute shit and like I can't achieve anything. So like my emotional stability is a lot around confidence, and the way I've described it, and I've actually talked to people about it. Like I've actually gone to, I was actually supposed to go to a psychologist,
back in Edmonton?
In Edmonton, but then COVID happened. So all the psychology.
A psychologist as in a doctor, a therapist, or
like a psychologist.
Like a friend who was a psychologist?
No, like I had a psychologist appointment.
Oh.
Like I was supposed to actually go see a psychologist because I was like I'm super interested in psychology because I'm interested in myself, because of all the changes I've gone through in the past couple of years. Because like 4 years ago, I was a totally different person. And just like the change since then has like hit me pretty hard. Just everything with traveling and like losing people and new friends and blah blah blah, like everything together. But like my emotional stability, because of like all the changes that have happened in my life, has been kind of a roller coaster. So like for the first time ever this past little while, I was like, I should like actually go see a psychologist and see if I can get like a grasp on like what's going on upstairs, because there's lots of times that externally I can 100%, if I need to act a certain way, I can act a certain way. It's not a big deal. Inside, like most people, it's not always like that. It's pretty all over the place. And and it definitely affects me creatively 100%. So for me, it's almost been like an acceptance that emotional instability isn't necessarily bad. It's that everyone has emotional instability, and having complete emotional stability is pretty impossible. You can have emotional control, but control is different than emotional stability. Emotional stability is kind of out of your control. It's just like how you feel based on a certain thing, and then the control is deciding how you are going to react to that emotion, how you're going to portray yourself, whether you're with people or you're by yourself, or whether it's work or whatever. So for me, emotional stability and instability, my emotional instability has been... So quick
question, do you think you can have a high amount of emotional control and a low amount of emotional stability? Like, you think it's not... Like, you can be an extremely emotionally unstable person, but in the view of other people, you can be very emotionally stable.
I personally believe that you can be emotionally unstable to a certain point, obviously, and still have incredibly high control over your emotions.
Right.
For one that we just talked about, like fear. I guess we talked about it in a different video, so it's not this one. But for one, like fear, like the emotion of fear and being like kind of pushed back by it and being able to control how you're going to react to that fear and being courageous about it. Or emotional...
so you mean you have, like, if you get scared of something, you have the emotional control to react to it a specific way.
That's not...
But you don't have the emotional stability to control the fact that you actually have fear inside of you right now.
But I don't... So, I mean, I'm not a psychologist. But I personally don't believe that you have control over the animalistic, instinctive reaction to something when it happens. When your girlfriend breaks up with you or cheats on you, you're gonna feel sad. You're gonna feel like shit. That's not under your control. How you react to it is your control. And I think that's trainable. And that's been my relationship with emotional stability, is that, like, even though I do have I would say I'm pretty emotionally unstable. Like, I fluctuate a lot, and it doesn't take a lot for me to fluctuate. But I feel like most times I can control it. I definitely get like today I was getting pissed off about taxes. I was pissed, and that was because, like,
very frustrated.
But that's because because I'm close with you guys, I didn't really care. If I was with somebody random, I would have held it in and like been like, whatever, I can fucking deal with this. But so I guess for me it's just been controlling the emotional instability and realizing that complete emotional stability is kind of a long shot. Because of the belief I have that it's not your control. Your control is how you react to it.
Do you think it's possible to grow or better your emotion? Like, do you think, because you're at one level now, do you think, you know, there's things that you can do for, almost like, do you think you can build a box of, I don't know, tools to build up your emotional stability, so that way you have a lot of emotional control, but also a lot of emotional stability? Like, you don't think you can have a high amount of emotional stability?
Well, I think they're two things. I don't think it's the same thing. And I think it definitely depends on, like, personality. Like, one thing, and I know you're like this because you've talked about this with your van. If I lose something, if I get something stolen, even if it's expensive, I don't really give a shit. You can buy things, whatever. Like,
when Peggy broke on the way to 5040 and we thought the transmission blew up,
I could have been like crying and pissed off and like, fuck.
We laughed about it.
We laughed about it. We made a video.
Can we put that clip in here?
We'll totally put the clip in there.
Oh, that was such good progress. Oh, that happened at like the last stretch too.
It did.
Like the very last.
It must have been just from like shifting gears and just giving her. It must have just caused, like, I bet the gasket on the transmission hasn't been done in a while. Well, little Peggy here started leaking, and we decided it's just best to turn back and not risk getting stuck in the middle of nowhere on a random logging road.
I definitely think you can work on it, but, like, just from personal experience, because I'm not old enough to have that much experience with it. The hardships that I've had and the difficulties I've had to go through, which are like a decent amount. I think I've had like some pretty shitty things happen to me. I don't feel like the instinctive reaction changes.
Yeah.
I feel like the way you react to the reaction changes.
Yeah.
So, for example, like the first time I ever like lost a girlfriend that was significant to me.
Yeah.
Crushed.
We all remember it well.
Crushed, man. Like it was brutal. Like it was a long ass time. Now, and it's obviously like it's different because I haven't had that type of relationship since then. But now it's like I learned from that. Mm-hmm. I learned from that in the way that I know it'll probably happen again someday, that I'm going to lose somebody. Not necessarily a girlfriend, a friend, family member, whether it's death or just losing or a loss of friendship, whatever.
Yeah.
That like, that sucks.
Yeah.
But now I know how to react
to
the reaction that just happens.
Yeah.
Right? So it's, and I think that's how I've matured as a person.
Mm-hmm.
A person. As a person.
Persian.
No, as a person in terms of emotional stability. And I've said it like 5 times.
Yeah.
I've come to realize that like my emotional stability is what it is. And one of the reasons I wanted to go to a psychologist is because I talked to my mom about it.
Yeah.
And there is like reason to believe that like I do have like a bit of imbalance.
Yeah.
For what I've never been diagnosed. That's why I was going to a psychologist. So I've come to realize that like there is something, or there may be things that I don't control that happened in my mind.
Right.
I control how I react to them in public.
Yeah.
And through that, I am that's why I'm very reserved in public. With you, I'm not, again, for whatever, because we do weird shit. But like when I'm by myself, super fucking reserved.
Yeah.
Like I don't display a lot of emotion.
Right.
And it almost goes too far the other way. I almost go like too far where I'm controlling my emotion too much that I don't really show it enough, and I definitely recognize that. So it's I've had a battle. That was a fucking intense one. I took that intense route.
That is intense.
I've definitely had like both good and bad.
So do you think then, because you think there maybe is an imbalance or whatever it might be, do you think that's a negative thing?
No, dude. Because I think I've talked to you about this before. I think a long time ago. For a long time I thought I was bipolar.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I was like,
about it,
because I think it was a while ago. And that was probably like the worst emotional instability I've gone through, because when I kind of like, because I didn't want to go to a psychologist because I just was being stupid and I didn't want to. I think if you have mental issues, you should always go to a psychologist because they fucking help. But I was being stubborn, like a lot of people are, and I'm like, nah, I'm fine. It's not even that I was stubborn. I didn't even think about going. I just didn't even want to.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'll figure it out. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I've lived this long, whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember when I really started doing research, and this is when I kind of was like, oh, I'm like kind of different. I feel like there's something going on that's not normal.
Yeah.
Because of how frequent the instability is,
right,
and how it comes and goes, and like blah blah. So this was like, I was like, maybe I'm bipolar, maybe I switch really quickly. And I started really diving deep into it, and I kind of like I started to resonate with like a lot of shit, and I was really honestly, because like, you know, when you diagnose yourself on the internet, don't diagnose yourself on the internet. So I was trying to be super like honest. I was trying to take like quizzes put out by doctors, because if you go on like mental health sites, there's a lot of like standardized tests that like a psychologist will give you to test you for whatever. So I was taking those, and I was trying to be like super honest.
And what did you find? What was your results?
I was like, I think I potentially have bipolar or something, and I know that it's also genetic, and I know that I have like family members that suffer from like mental illness as well.
Okay.
And the more I dove into it, because like also just an interest in it, I was just that's what helped, as well as I was so interested in it that I also just wanted to know. So positive, I learned a shit ton about mental health. But the conclusion that I had recently, actually, like through the research, just like going through stuff, the one that resonated with me the most, to the point that I was like, if I'm not this, I'm the most not this person ever.
Yeah.
And that was ADHD.
Right.
And one of the reasons I never thought of, and this was the conversation I had with my mom.
Yeah.
Because I was like, do you like think of this? And she's like, yeah, maybe. Like, yeah, I have
Really?
like seen
Yeah.
things. Because like, and one of the reasons that I never thought like ADHD was the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned about it recently is that like, when you think about ADHD, you think about like super hyper, like outgoing,
Yeah.
loud, like distracting. It's like
Yeah.
the kid in the class, it's crazy kind of thing that can't
Yeah.
calm down. So there's that type of ADHD, and I forget the correct terms.
Yeah.
There's that type of ADHD.
Yeah.
But then there's also the quiet ADHD.
Yeah.
The quiet ADHD, it's like internal.
Internal.
So and there's like all these different aspects to it. So there's hyperactive.
Yeah.
Again, I forget the terms, but there's like it's like hyperactive, and there's the other proper term that I don't remember, but it's kind of like the opposite, where it's like super docile, kind of like, and then there's a combination. And most, like 90% of the people who have it are the combination. So I think I have that. It's the inability to focus.
Yeah.
But then the hyperactive is hyperfocus.
Right.
So I have.
So with your ideas.
So this
Yeah,
is where I
I
kind of
see
like.
where you're going.
I was tying it in with my life. I was
Yeah.
like, fuck, I might actually have this. And then to tie it back into this, it's like one of the things. It's like is emotional instability. Is like one of the factors that it
and
fluctuates.
when it's that deeply, almost rooted in you, I feel like, how do you change it? Because so the way I would look at it is, if I was in your shoes, kind of thing, right now, obviously, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I would, the way I would try and deal with that is I would just try and mentally will myself.
Yeah.
So if I found that I wasn't focusing enough, I would be like, I just need to focus. But for you,
Yeah.
it's kind of different because
and
it's
it's been
yeah,
interesting because I'm just learning that it's different.
yeah,
Like I'm just now learning that, like, because one of the things is like before people, and this is one of the sources of emotional instability.
Yeah.
Is people, before they realize they have it, is they get so frustrated
Yeah.
with themselves because they can't focus.
Right.
Because it's, and one of the reasons I like, when I read this, I was like, what the hell?
I think
This is
Callie's
so
outside. Or
That's
she's
okay.
coming in.
Oh. She can come join if she wants. One of the things that, because I remember a while ago when I was like going through a really tough time, I remember I was texting my mom. One of the things, I remember I said it almost on point. I was like, it feels like I'm a TV, my mind is a TV, and there's someone else controlling the channels. So it goes from when you're on one channel, if you stay on that channel, you know that channel.
Yeah.
And that's the hyperactive.
Straight arrow.
You
yeah.
get hyper focused.
Yeah.
And you can do that one thing until
Yeah.
you die. Like it's
Yeah.
you get this hyper focus that like you're so into it that everything else, no matter the importance, it doesn't matter if it's not that one thing.
Yeah.
And then channel switches.
Onto a new channel.
You have no control.
Right.
There is no like, why did you stop that? It's like, I didn't. Something else did. Something else
Interesting.
clicked
Yeah.
that button that put me to the next channel.
Yeah.
And I can go from playing guitar and play for 6 hours.
Yeah.
And just, I don't care how much my fingers hurt. I want to play guitar. It's what I'm
Yeah.
doing right now. Blah, blah, blah. Switches. I want to go for a run.
Yeah.
And have zero interest in guitar. And now I'm going to be a professional runner. Like,
Yeah.
that's how it works. It's like,
Yeah.
so it's instead of you being able to sit down and go, I'm going to do this today.
Yeah.
You're at the mercy of whoever controls the remote. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
And you can try to overcome it, but if you try to do the thing that you're not focused on, you're going to do it like shit.
Why?
It's almost like,
Like, do you?
I'm not
like
trying
your
to-
talent gets worse.
I'm not trying to say I have multiple personalities. That's
Okay.
not what I'm
Sure,
trying to say.
yeah.
But it's almost like if you're on that channel, you're amazing at it. But if you're on a different channel and trying to do that, it's like somebody else who's less skilled at that thing is trying to do it.
Right.
So it's like, and the inspiration's gone, the motivation's gone.
Yeah.
It's blah, blah, blah. And then, so again, back to emotional instability. If you don't know you have it, you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And you feel stupid, you feel
Yeah.
lazy, you feel all these different things. And that's why, like, I sucked at school. And now I'm like, fuck, maybe this is why I sucked at school. And again, I'm trying to be super like real about it. I'm not trying to make it like an excuse, and I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I don't think it's a bad thing is because if you get a hyper focus on something you actually want or need to do, it turns into like a superpower. Like if I'm hyper focused on something, I can achieve it so fast, all in. And that's why I get so invested.
Yeah.
And so like one of the things that I know that you know about me is like when I have like a new idea, I'm
all in. Yeah.
So there's an aspect of it that's novel ideas are more appealing.
Yeah.
So we hyper focus on them.
Okay, so
I shouldn't say we. I don't actually know that I'm ADHD. But like I said, if I'm not ADHD, I am the most non-ADHD ADHD non-ADHD person. Like it's so and it's like it's been fascinating because it like I actually got like a little bit emotional when I like really got into it because I was like, fuck, this literally explains like how I am. Like it explains why I'm the way I am and why I can't explain certain ways that the way I am because there isn't really an explanation for it. It's just kind of, it just happens. It's just something that goes on. And then also when I talked to my mom about it and she kind of like agreed, like, yeah, like there was a potential like this something because when I was a kid, I was like a little weird.
Yeah.
And it's just been, I've realized like the past couple of years of my life of emotional instability and just the way that I've lived my life has basically been if you give a person with ADHD freedom to do whatever the fuck they want and plane tickets.
Yeah.
You just go all over the place. Yeah. It's like, it's just, I was giving into the lack of attention yet hyper focus.
Right.
So my want to do something so bad that I can't sleep or think about anything else until I do it. Yeah. But then once I do it, I lose interest. And I want to do something else. Yeah. So it's just this, it's like a circle. Yeah. And every now and then you find something that sticks. Yeah. Like photography. Yeah. Or guitar. And you're like, fuck yeah.
Sweet.
It sticked. Yeah. Right? Like it's stuck. And so it's well, again, I'm really fucking talking tonight. Yeah. So I went on a tangent. But that's why I think emotional stability has been so crazy for me the last couple of years is because that unknown. Yeah. And now figuring out, kind of realizing that
how to deal with it,
and I think how to deal with it. And I think that's why, for me personally, I believe that emotional stability isn't under your control, right? But your reaction to emotional stability, your reaction to emotional instability is under your control, right? And you have to learn it. Yeah. And it's obviously different for everyone.
So do you think, everyone's just born with different levels of emotional stability?
Well, I think everyone's born with different personalities. And
do you think it's formed? Like,
it's definitely
it's formed.
It's 100% has to be, formed. Yeah. I mean, like, there's definitely certain things that...
So here's where I want to talk about it. Because I always come from my perspective for myself, and any issue that comes into my life. This is something that I've learned. Is basically my perspective is always like extreme ownership. Jocko Willink has a book about it, and that's what he talks about. That's where I learned it. And he basically talks about how everything that happens in your life, even if it's not necessarily your fault, if you start thinking that every single thing that happens in your life, whether it's good or bad or whatever, if you start thinking like that, you start just like taking control almost of your life. Yeah. And I feel like that's something that I've really done, and therefore, because I think I have a fairly high level of emotional stability and emotional control, like I do feel like an emotionally stable person, even though I still have, like I go through times of like real genuine, like, say depression or like out of nowhere stuff will just happen, and I'll be like a month or two of just like I feel like complete ass and whatever. But like in general, I feel like very like emotionally stable and like very good. But because I look at it from like a sense of like self-responsibility, I feel like I can look back, like how we were just talking about, is it nature or nurture? Like, do you learn essentially as a young child to become emotionally
Yeah.
unstable. I look at that as like, okay, what were the actions that made me that way? And then what to me would be a logical way to almost reverse that so that I can make myself more emotionally stable. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing because that's mindset, and that's something that David Goggins has taught me. Another reason why he's a genius to me is because he understands the human mind so much, and all that man has is just ultimate control.
Yeah.
That's it, just emotional
Yeah.
stability
But,
and
like-
control. He's mastered it.
So I guess the question I would have if I could talk to David Goggins is like, and
Yeah.
I've kind of heard him talk about this before, but not enough to like include it. Is like, so when something negative happens to you,
Yeah.
do you even have the thought of reacting badly to it, or is it something that you react to negatively and you instantly, and then you like through
me,
training you
yeah.
control it?
For me, it's
So-
always an initial. It depends what it is. Obviously, my van being stolen. I was
Yeah.
like, oh shit! What
exactly.
am I gonna do?
So that's
Yeah.
the emotional reaction.
Yeah.
But then do you have the mental ability to override that reaction? So that's kind of that's kind of what I was
Definitely.
saying. Cuz I think
Yeah.
we're agreeing
Yeah.
in a way, just saying kind of differently.
Yeah.
But cuz I remember specifically David Goggins. I was listening to one of his podcasts.
Yeah.
And he was saying how like every day when he gets up to work out, he's like, "Oh fuck, I don't want to do this."
Totally.
But I do it anyways.
Yeah.
So that's that emotional response to doing something difficult, but then
Yeah.
he overrides it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would also say he also has a high level of emotional stability,
I mean,
right?
dude's a fucking
so
monster, but-
even though, because I know I get that too. Like,
Yeah.
if it's before a workout, before a run, whatever, before a hard climb, there's always that
Yeah.
that emotion that you can't control. It comes out because
Yeah,
we're
the
human.
overcoming.
Yeah,
like the
so you overcome that. So, to you, do you think emotional stability is like a lack of ability?
I mean,
overcome that,
I
or-
think emotional stability comes from. I think it comes from subconscious. I
Yeah.
think it's definitely trained. Like I think it's something that's definitely formed.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's formed by our doing. I think it's formed by our childhoods, by our experiences,
Yeah.
by stuff that we don't really control.
Brain chemistry,
Whatever
yeah.
it may be. So whether it's just like your experience in your childhood, or whether it's your experience in school, or blah blah blah, like things happen to you at like a younger age that you don't really control how you react to, because at that point in your life you haven't learned the
Yeah.
ways to
You haven't built the
overcome
tools to do that.
exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, I think that is when you're actually, again, I don't really know. Personal theories.
We don't know shit about what
We
we're
don't know
talking
shit.
about. We're exploring.
But
here.
this makes sense in my head. So, after I just explained how I'm
if you're a
emotionally
psychologist and
unstable.
you're listening to this, please help us here.
But like, so the way I kind of think about it in my personal life, and how I've kind of come to, because that's kind of all I can do, to think about this, is that I had things happen to me in my childhood, throughout my teenage years, in school, blah blah blah, that trained me to think the way I think without my control, if that makes sense. So everything that happened in like my formative years trained my mind subconsciously to react the way it does in certain situations.
Right.
So I am probably a more cautious, fear-filled person because I had to be that way when I was younger.
Yeah.
So now that I'm older and I'm able to mentally think about how I'm going to react to situations, since the start of me being able to mentally react to situations how I want to, I've had to train my conscious self
Yeah.
to react to my subconscious self. Because my subconscious self is just formed by all the shit that's happened to me.
Yeah.
And it's just, and no one has control over their subconscious, right?
sure,
It's just,
yeah.
it's the things that happen to you when you're younger, or when
Yeah.
you're in shitty situations, and it scars you, whether it's
Sure.
losing a parent, a friend, or getting abused, or whatever it may be, extreme or not extreme. Those things in your formative years turn you into the person that you are. When you're older is when you have to try to control the person that you are.
Yeah.
So that to me is how that works. Is that now that I'm at a point in my life that I'm completely responsible for what I do, how I act, what I create, what I miss, whatever you want to call,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, or whatever you want to choose. I have had to learn how to control the person I've become and try turn it into the person I want to be.
Right.
Right? Because like that's the whole thing is like shouldn't say no one. Not many people grow up from a kid to adult and be like, yep, did it.
Yeah.
You know, no speed bumps, right? So it's like
no one does.
Exactly. So that instability, that emotional instability, and everything is emotional instability. When you make bad choices, it's emotional instability. It's just like everything's based around your emotions. Like humans are emotional creatures.
Yeah.
All your decisions are based around your emotions.
Yeah, of course.
So if you don't try to fix that instability, that's when you see like 30, 40-year-olds that have ruined their life because they never matured and never tried to fix themselves, never tried to fix their subconscious thoughts, their wants, their desires.
They never tried to grow and develop.
Yeah, they never tried to change themselves for the positive. So that's why I personally think they're totally separate. That's why I think that your emotional stability is not really up to you. It's up to like your past you, and it's up to the people who raised you and your friends and the people around you.
Right.
What you can do is control your emotions.
Yeah.
But you have to react to the emotional response of what happens externally.
Yeah.
That's how I do it.
Interesting. Yeah. It's so interesting having this conversation because I've never really talked to someone about how, like,
you're stepping in other people's heads.
How you think about things. Yeah. And it's hard to do that.
Dude,
it's kind of hard to like open up into someone else's
series about this if you wanted. I love this shit. I love talking about. I love talking about thinking.
Yeah.
Because it's everything.
Yeah.
Thinking is everything.
For sure.
It's your life is thinking. Yeah. Right.
See, so I find it really interesting, that kind of stuff too. But I also get to a point where I'm like, okay, when am I in too far with this kind of stuff? And when does it not matter anymore? I can go deep. It's like thinking about the universe. Like, yeah,
dude, I love thinking about shit that you shouldn't think about.
But like, why? What do you mean you shouldn't think about?
Like that, there's no point. There's no point because there's no answer.
Why do you like it?
Because it's almost like a vacation from rational thinking.
Right.
It's like, so for example, just the topic that we're on. There is no end to the conversation.
Yeah.
We could keep talking about it until we decide to stop talking about it. Mm-hmm. So, to me, that opens up the ultimate creative space.
Right.
Because there's no answer.
It's not rational.
Because it's not rational.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking about space or you're talking about the mind. And like the beauty of it is that we really don't know.
Yeah.
We think we know a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But there is so many things that we're discovering scientists and smart people are discovering all the time. But not even to go down that tangent, it's just like the fact that this is something, like the topic that we're on is something that we can't really conclude. Mm-hmm. It makes us think in irrational ways, which like promotes creativity.
Right.
And it makes you think in like a philosophical way because there is no answer. And I love philosophy.
For sure.
I love when people almost make sense of things by proving that you can't make sense of them, if that makes sense. No. It's a little psychedelic. So like, it's like you said, like I said, there's no point to talk about it because there's no end, there's no answer. So to understand that you can't make sense of it, yet to discuss it and see how close you can come to making sense of it,
right?
Yet you always have to have the understanding that you're not going to get there,
right?
So it's almost like it's like a mind practice.
Yeah,
it's like you. It's almost like the acceptance of there's not going to be a conclusion to this.
Yeah.
But you're going to have like fun seeing if you can get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's interesting because I feel like I could say the same about like, I don't know, film photography because for me especially, I find film photography extremely interesting.
Yeah.
But again, it does come to that point of, okay, this is not really benefiting me in any way and there's no point to thinking about it. But I want to keep thinking about it.
See, that's passion, man.
Yeah.
That's passion. That's when, like, you might not.
But that's a cool place to be as well when you get to that point of.
Mosquito. It scared me.
Of what you're talking about.
Flew, like, right here, so it looked massive. I was like, what the fuck?
That's.
I think that's how you find what your passion is.
Yeah.
I think that's how you know, because, like, I know I'm passionate about talking about and thinking about thinking. Like, I think about thinking. I think about how I think and how I react to things in almost like a third person sense.
Right.
Just how my head works. Everyone's got different shit, but like that's literally a passion of mine. I love just laying back, or when I go for walks, or that's why I love running, man.
Yeah.
I love running because like when you get to like runner's high, you just let it go.
Yeah.
That's when I have all my best ideas.
Yeah.
And like
Runner's high interesting because you don't really feel anything, even though your
you
body.
feel it when you stop.
When you stop.
When you come back, you're like, whoa.
When you stop for like,
like
2
weird-
seconds to like
Yeah.
take a picture, like maybe get a drink of water or whatever.
Yeah.
When you stop for that 2 seconds and then it creeps in.
Yeah.
And then the first thing you do is you just start moving again and
Yeah.
it feels completely normal.
Yeah, I remember when I really started to train, like actually train running for the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started to get good at it.
Yeah.
And when my cardio actually got like really good, where I was kind of like, I can stop when I want to stop, but
Yeah.
I can keep going.
Keep going.
When you get to that point, when
Yeah.
you get to the point that you're not like constricted by your lungs and your legs, and it's
Yeah.
just like you can just keep rolling.
Yeah.
That's when you get crazy runner's high.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing in the way of you thinking.
Totally. You're just at
aren't
that
hurting.
one pace that you're
Yeah.
just like nonstop.
Yeah, you're just going.
And the more you run, the faster that pace gets.
yeah.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more you push it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't ran
Yeah.
since like last week, but
I didn't run today.
I go through spurts of running a lot
yeah.
and running consistently to just not running for months.
I
It
did
comes
that.
and goes.
I did that and I regret it.
Yeah,
Is that you blowing up?
that's my phone going.
Is that our cue?
I don't know what's going on, but
Popular. We kind of went
Well,
off emotional stability.
emotional stability.
I
Yeah,
hope it's still rolling.
That was-
my SD card might be.
yeah. We shot a lot of footage today.
Yeah.
But that's emotional stability.
that's,
We'll just that's what we think about it.
that's emotional stability. You can
yeah.
come to this as a reference.
Should we get
for
people
your-
to comment somehow? Should we do something? If you happen to watch this or you're watching the end part of this video, just leave a comment that says like, I like my backyard. Just say that. I'm just curious.
Let's see who actually is.
I
reacting,
just
like-
want to see
like-
if anyone watches
Not even
this.
that. Do
No, just say I like my backyard.
okay. That's like then we can actually get a gauge of like who actually watched it.
Not that it matters.
Not that it
I'm just
matters.
curious.
Yeah.
Because chances are someone found this conversation interesting enough to listen to
I hope so.
all however many minutes it is.
I like
So-
my backyard.
Love your backyard. And even if you only have a patio, even if you only have like a small little deck, whatever.
It's so random. It's like a safe word. You have to think about something that
Yeah.
like no one would say.
Yeah.
No matter what.
like my backyard.
Pineapple.
All right.
Yeah, anyways.
Well, let's get out of here. And it's been Clifford Basil, and we'll see you guys on the next one.